Welcome to the very first episode of Tech Talk in 2024. Now, the year is still fresh and I know you're still excited about your New Year resolutions. I hope some of those resolutions have to do with technology, like maybe gaining a new skill or just deepening yourself in your understanding of technological concepts such as artificial intelligence. Whatever your New Year resolutions are, we wish you all the best. Now, 2024 promises to be a very eventful year as far as technology is concerned, because there's a lot of activities, there's a lot of new projects that are coming up, and there's a lot of legislation that is coming into the tech space that will definitely affect the way you do certain things. Now, I hope you do not miss any of these that are coming up by tuning into this program right here on Great Dominion Television, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel. You're with me, your host, PK, and this is Tech Talk in 2024. Now, in this very first episode of Tech Talk, right here on GDTV, we are honored to have a guest, a young man who is making big moves on the ground, somebody who is setting the tech foundation for the future right here in Malawi. Stay tuned so that you can get to know who it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, in the studio, we are privileged to have a guest who is going to tell us more about his work and himself, about what he's doing in the tech space. We are privileged to have you today, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, the audience is curious to know who is this guest that we have in the studio today. May you introduce yourself and what you do to the audience, please?
All right, I'm Eugen Maseya. So where do I start?
Just about you. A brief background,
right?
Tech related, and that's what you're doing now.
Okay, right. Yeah. So I'm Malawian. I was born in Dirande, something I'm very proud about.
And I would
yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I grew up in Blantyre. Went to the University of Malawi Polytechnic. I studied mathematical sciences, and after graduating. After looking around for job opportunities, I decided to start my own startup. So that was a drone mapping as a service business. It was called Flying Labs Malawi. So I did that for about 6 years. So that was drone mapping for big international NGOs and private sector as well. So stuff like flood mapping, agriculture, construction, those type of projects. Okay. But while doing that is where I got to get a lot of my business education. I got to travel and meet a lot of people and learn a lot of things. I noticed that there isn't a lot of young people that are working in young Africans like me, Malawians, that are working in emerging technologies like drones or robotics. And I think I just had it a passion or a desire to have more young people working in those type of technologies. So yes. I think that's where the desire or the interest for NxtGen Labs, which is what I'm currently doing right now since 2021 September, came from.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, because I remember knowing about the drone mapping initiative. I didn't know you were the person behind it.
Yes. I
thought your first baby was NxtGen Labs.
No.
Okay.
No.
So, what does NxtGen Labs do in general?
Right. So, NxtGen Labs is an innovation lab. It was founded in 2021 September, and it's an innovation lab that is focused on innovation and education around emerging technologies. So emerging technologies, that's the stuff of the fourth industrial revolution, like AI, machine learning, blockchain, robotics, Internet of Things, those type of technologies.
So that's your specialty?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm curious to know why you ventured. You said after college you looked around for some jobs and then you started your first startup. Mm-hmm. Were you motivated by money to start your own initiative? You want to be the next billionaire, or is there a bigger picture to it? Is there something like maybe an impact-oriented? What motivates you to?
Right. I think I've always, from a young age, I remember since I was young, I always wanted to be an inventor. So I used to say, I used to want to make devices or machines or something like that. I think growing up back then, we didn't have access to a lot of technology or even toys, right?
Exactly.
So I think I always had it. I want to make my own stuff, so that was always my interest. So I think it just came from there. And then I was growing up, I was passionate about flight and aeronautics and aerospace, and so that's where maybe the interest in drones came about. Yeah, but I think that's always been something I've always. But then through my more formal years, my interest became solving problems. So how can we solve certain problems with technology? So when I looked at certain problems like the flooding that was happening in 2015, 2016, the lack of productivity in agriculture, the deforestation, I thought, okay, how can we use drones to solve those problems, right? And that's where that came from. And having done that successfully for like 5-6 years, then I was like, okay, how do I feel like drones are a little bit limited, narrow to one technology. How about being able to solve problems with so many different types of technology, right? And not having to put ourselves in a box because of drones, So yeah, that's where now the interest with NxtGen Labs came from. Yeah.
So the biggest motivation is problem solving.
Yes, problem solving with technology.
Yes. What do you think? If you obviously there's a number of problems that you're looking at, but if you were to choose one problem that you think you've done well in addressing or solving, it may not be solving it to 100%, but at least maybe you're well on your way to solving that problem. What would that be?
I would say education. I think everything starts with education, right? And so I feel like in this country, our education does not evolve quickly enough. I think right now you were talking about one of your first episodes, you were going through what's happening with the AI and stuff like that. Exactly. Right, that stuff that right now is not there in the colleges, right? The systems haven't adapted to that yet, and then worse off even for the younger kids, right? So yeah, we've experimented with a couple of things. I mean, our core program when we started out was coding and robotics for kids, so from 5 to 18 years old. But I think within 6 months we grew from that, and in our first year, we had a graduate training program for graduates from Luana who have no tech experience. So we created a 10-week crash course where they'll learn about all these technologies, the AI, the machine learning, the robotics, what's possible. And then once they know what's possible, they can start to use the knowledge of the technologies to solve problems they know in agriculture and climate change and environmental science and sustainable natural resource management, those type of things, right? Yeah, so I am from that. I think came out 7 businesses, 7 startups. Solving problems. So yeah, I think we've just grown from there. We've done hackathons with Save the Children. We are now doing more incubation with the EU and UNDP under the Zanchito Skills for Jobs program. Yeah. So, but even in that, it is focused on having businesses that have technology in them, that are leveraging technology in some way, because I think if we have businesses that don't have technology, we won't be able to scale. We won't be able to scale. So I think that's very important for us as a young economy that's growing to focus on the technology.
Okay, that's encouraging to know. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to hear some of the proud moments that Eugene and his NxtGen Labs initiative have been a part of since coming into existence.
Lazy employees, micromanagement, manual systems, nepotism, office politics, lack of accountability. What do these things have in common? They are dragging your organization down, preventing it from achieving all its goals and making the maximum impact. Kaizen isn't just computer and mobile software that helps you automate your organization's workflows. It's also an organized philosophy of working that helps you achieve efficiency and productivity at the highest level. Imagine having all your organization's data and managing it on a single digital platform. I'm talking about employee details, holidays, leave days, attendance, timesheets, payroll, invoices, payments, projects, tasks, internal funds requests, vacancies and recruitment processes, assets, Zoom meetings, support tickets, internal communication, and managing your projects in a way that allows your clients or donors to directly access the progress of the work you're doing for them. All this in a single digital platform. The added benefit? Well, you get to save a huge chunk of your budget and sweat while leaving paper-based systems as you migrate to the digital cloud. When you think about efficiency and productivity of your organization, think Kaizen.
If you're just joining us, this is Tech Talk on Great Dominion TV. You're with me, your host PK, and today, as I said in the studio, we are privileged to have a guest, Eugen Maseya, who is the founder of NxtGen Labs, a guy who is doing an amazing work on the ground, trying to help businesses, trying to help young people with emerging technologies. Now, we've spoken about your biggest motivation, which is to help solve problems in a sustainable way. I'm curious to understand what your proudest moments are since coming into existence. Is it maybe a big contract that you signed, or maybe an award that you won? Mention at least 3, just so that we know some of the successes that you've been a part of.
Right. Yeah, I think it's still early days for us, but I think mid last year we got the ICT Association of Malawi Startup of the Year award.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. We didn't expect that, so that was interesting that people recognize what we're doing and see our work in the space. And I also think some of the other successes are the partnerships that we've been able to make with different large players like GIZ, UNDP, EU, and Save the Children, to still continue to do what we do, but in their programs, in the work that they do. So yeah, I think that's been a big success. The launch of the Zanchito Jobs for Skills program, which is a 6-year program, the EU and the UNDP, and another success was the program that we're about to recently complete with World Bank and the PPPC under the government of Malawi, which is the digital skills training for the youth, where we targeted 2,200 youth in the country, across the country in about 5 districts, but still with emerging technology education.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were learning things like virtual reality, Internet of Things, robotics. Yeah, so that's also the fact that partnership came to life and the project was able to be implemented successfully. Is also, I think, a success. Yeah, I think that's what I can say are the successes so far.
Yeah, those are big wins, and considering that you just came into existence in September 2021, which is like 3 years ago.
2.5.
2.5 years, yes. 2.5 years. That's congratulations on making those milestones.
Thank you.
The startup economy in Malawi is obviously tricky because just the general economy is not stable and all this kind of stuff. I have been a part of a lot of entrepreneurs' journey. Even myself, I'm a tech entrepreneur, and I have seen a lot of ideas, a lot of startups come into fruition. I think around 2014, 2015, we saw a boom of startups in Malawi. But almost all of them are non-existent now. What would you say is the biggest X factor in making a tech startup work in Malawi? Is it luck? Do you have to have the large investors? What do you, in your experience, and also just learning from other people's experiences, what do you think are the factors that make a startup grow?
Okay, I think first of all it depends on what sector you're working in, but one of the biggest ones, or the most important ones, is focus. Having a focus. I feel like a lot of people in business sometimes don't have a focus, so they'll be everywhere. I'll give an example of us. It was very easy for us to, even while in tech, to get distracted. There's things that we have to say no to. Even though there is money involved, but we're like, this is not feeding into what we're doing right now, and this is not building into the vision and does not improve on our core offering or what we want to be known for. So those are things that we have to turn down, even though it means turning down money, but we know what we're trying to do, right? So sometimes you find that because of lack of focus, 1 minute you're in this, and next minute you're in that, and then 5 years down the line, you're not really well known for anything, or you haven't, you haven't developed any specialty in anything, right? So that becomes a problem. Another one is being able to pivot and adjust. Sometimes I feel like a lot of our businesses don't have a good product market fit, and yes, while you have to get into the market to test your assumptions and things like that, you have to also be able to react and pivot accordingly, to make adjustments, to say, okay, this is what I thought coming into this, and this is how I have seen it on the ground, and then this is how I should adjust accordingly, right? So yeah, I think the inability to pivot to sometimes we're too stuck in I want to do this, and you stick on that path, and then you just go till business is never straightforward. We can write it down on paper and think, oh, okay, make projections and stuff like that, but once you're in the market and on the ground, you have to make adjustments, and be quick to think on your feet in all areas, whether with staff, whether with your core offering, whatever it is, and yeah. So that's also something that I think is very important in business. Yeah, and another thing I would also say is starting lean, so starting small, not taking on big financial burden, or starting off with more than you can bite off, right? I think is also a problem. Sometimes you start it off in a certain way, maybe because of grant funding or donor funding or something that it is, and then it's not sustainable. So I think all the time to always think, how is this thing going to be sustainable without whatever it is that has got us here? So I think that's also very important, because our economy is up and down, and you always have to plan for the worst.
Exactly. So I take 3 takeaways there. First of all, you have to be able to focus. You have to be a person of focus, not just because there's a prospect of a grant funding somewhere or the contract somewhere, And I'm saying this because I know there are startup entrepreneurs in the tech space who might be listening. So I'm emphasizing this, that if you look at the track record of some of the entrepreneurs that have failed and those that have succeeded, there's an element of focus, not just because there's a prospect of grant funding and then you have to change your one-pager and all this kind of stuff. And the second thing is being able to adjust, being able to pivot, looking at how things are going in, and then being able to make adjustments based on that. And the third one is starting lean. It's not always easy. Maybe you get $1 million or $1 million kwacha. It's still a lot of money in Malawi. And then you get expensive offices. You get 20 staff at once that you don't barely know. I think that is a key to disaster. So I would like to get your perspective on an issue that's a little controversial now, artificial intelligence. There are almost like 2 camps. So artificial intelligence is making people lazy. Artificial intelligence is taking away jobs from people like graphics. I'll give you an example. Just last week, I was creating a comic using one of the generative AIs on the internet. And that way, if it was 2-3 years ago, I would have hired somebody. I would have paid somebody money to that person. But now I can do it myself. What do you take? What's your take now as a person? Not just as a NxtGen Labs, but as a person. What do you think? Should AI be pushed the way it is being pushed at the moment? Do we stand to benefit more as a society? Not just as I know techpreneurs will make a killing out of it, but just as a society, do you think we should push AI the way it is being pushed, or there are some tweaks that have to be made? Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think AI is maybe one of the greatest things to happen to us as human beings. While that may be the case, I think there's still need for it to be used ethically. As with any type of technology, right? Robotics and all these things, right? It's always good to make ethical considerations so that that thing doesn't then have a very big negative impact on us. It's also very good to be mindful with the young people, what they're getting into, because AI is so big, so vast, we don't know what the full extent of it is yet. So while everyone is still trying to figure it out, it's also very good to protect the young ones. But in general, my view of AI is that I think it's here to stay. I think it's one of the most important things to happen to us as human beings, and there's also a great chance for developing economies. How exactly?
I think that the same way I can make the comparison of like how in Europe and in North America they had landlines connecting everywhere, right? Maybe up to the 80s and the 90s. And in Africa, we didn't have any of that, right? And so the thinking was, oh, we need to get all this infrastructure to all these landlines to connect all these communities and cities and whatever it is. But the coming in of mobile phones meant that we don't have to do that, right? So the mobile phone technology allowed us to leapfrog that step and not need to have landlines connecting everyone, right? So in the same way, artificial intelligence can kind of level the playing field in a certain way, allow certain things to be possible, allow us to reach more people in health, allow us to reach more people in education, to educate more young people, allow us to farm better in agriculture, to increase our productivity. So I think that there's so many things that the technology can allow us to do as a developing economy.
Do you think AI has a potential to create more jobs or take away more jobs? Like the prospect of it taking away more jobs versus that of it creating more jobs. What do you think is most likely to happen?
I think that it's going to create more jobs. It's going to create more jobs. Certain jobs that are okay. It's like the way technology is always going to replace certain types of jobs.
Yeah, that's true.
Way back, maybe there was need for more receptionists, more people to answer phones. Now that can be automated.
Bank tellers.
Yes, exactly. But there's always going to be an opportunity elsewhere if you're willing to look for it. So I think that the big thing is for us young people in technology, to understand the technology, to get immersed in it and pick an area of focus, or pick a problem that you're going to solve, or pick something that you're going to, a skill that, like you spoke about skills, that you're going to develop yourself around. There's still going to be need for programmers, just a different kind of programmers, right? So it's very important to upgrade yourself in a certain way and make sure that you're ready to leverage the opportunities that come with that technology. Yeah.
That is very interesting. The AI debate is really something that I think we should talk about more in the tech space as entrepreneurs, especially here in Malawi, because I feel like people do not understand this properly, and I think the average person who might be watching has a very limited understanding of what it is. And I encourage you, just get out of your comfort zone, do research on how this might potentially, whatever work you do, whatever line of profession that you get into. So as we are closing now, I wanted to give you the opportunity to say your last words. Could be to the Malawi nation in general, could be the tech startup entrepreneurs, could be to anybody, but this is your space to take it away.
Right. I just think that maybe my advice to fellow young people is to focus on the low-hanging fruit, the opportunities that are closest or easiest to solve right away. There is so many opportunities and so many problems. Let's focus on the ones that are the easiest to solve, that will give us quick wins right away, and then we can build on that. I think that's the best way to focus. Another thing that I think we should really think a lot about is trying to make it's very easy to copy what's happening also, but we have to adjust it to Malawi. We have to make it work for the local context. So finding a very good product market fit and really understanding your market. And then another thing that I think we should do better on young people is maybe focusing more on business and getting real business education from the internet, from studying, from courses, from YouTube, from all these places, podcasts, so that there's I think and you agree that there's a lot of young people starting NGOs, too many, and that's not going to solve any problems for us as a country.
Yes.
We need more young startups paying tax, generating forex, creating employment, So that's not going to happen if we set up NGOs, non-profits. Clearly there is no business in non-profit, right? So I think if more young people got into business, got to creating jobs. If every young person is creating 5-10 jobs, then we're in a better place, right? There's a lot of graduates that are looking for jobs. So I think that's what needs to happen in this country.
Well, there you have it. I've always also been an advocate of young people establishing companies, for-profit organizations, because there's that thing where if you mess up, then the whole thing falls apart. So it forces you to work hard. Whereas with grants with an NGO, sometimes you just do things in a shortcut way and you still get the money. Sometimes you just lie about reports and you still get money. So I believe that what they do in the West is like Bill Gates. They will start a company, they will make money out of it, and then they start a non-profit.
Yes.
So I think that should also be the mentality, because we need to pay taxes, we need to create employment, we need to drive innovation
to generate forex.
As well. Right now Malawi is having forex issues. So I love the way you've just closed it, and I think I will not say anything more, just for the fear of messing up everything. So thank you so much.
No, thank
Eugene.
you. Thank you.
I wish you all the best with
Thank
your
you.
initiatives with NxtGen and everything.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the very first episode of Tech Talk in 2024. In this show, I was with Eugen Maseya, who is the founder of NxtGen Labs. And I hope you've been inspired with his story, with his drive, with his insights as well. And I hope you young people can get lessons from what he's been able to do. Next week, we're having another guest, and I hope you will not miss that program as well. From me, PK, from GDTV, I'm signing out.